We are currently discussing the 10 negative actions in the chapter on cause and effect. We have studied negative actions related to one's body and speech. Today we will examine negative actions related to one's mind. Covetousness encompasses all desirous or acquisitive thoughts, even the slightest ones we may have about other people's property. Contemplating how agreeable it would be if those wonderful belongings were ours, we repeatedly imagine possessing them and devise schemes to acquire them. For example, if you don't own a car and see someone driving a luxury vehicle, you might feel jealous and strongly desire to claim that car as your own. Or if you notice someone has a beautiful house that you don't possess, you may wish to make that house yours. Similarly, if you know someone has a substantial amount of money in their bank account, you might imagine transferring all that money to your own account. Such thoughts are examples of covetousness. In a broad sense, desirous thoughts about a person, the Dharma, and property all fall under the category of covetousness. However, Patrul Rinpoche explains it here from the perspective of property. Ordinary people often do not view this defilement as unvirtuous. Rather, they believe that wishing to acquire more property reflects their ambition and drive. In reality, when a person harbors covetousness toward wealth, it becomes easy for them to descend into the hell realms. As stated in the Sutra of the Right Mindfulness of Dharma, covetousness is quite evil, and it drags people to hell. Therefore, when we see someone's property, we should avoid feelings of covetousness. Instead, we should rejoice for them. In The Just King, Mipham Rinpoche states, "No matter how wealthy others are, do not covet what they possess, but instead remain joyful for what you have." Otherwise, a person filled with great covetousness, even if they possess some wealth, will easily lose what they have. Here is a story from the Mula Sarvastivada Vinaya. Once, there was a man who had a beautiful daughter. When she grew up, her father passed away and was reborn as the king of geese. After losing her father, the daughter lived in poverty and suffered greatly. Witnessing her plight, the king of geese picked up one jewel each day from a treasury island and placed it at her door in the morning. The daughter was quite stingy and did not spend the jewels at all, so over time, she accumulated a large number of them. One day, she wondered, "Who on earth gives me a jewel every day?" She woke up very early in the morning to see what was happening behind the door. She discovered that it was the king of geese who was bringing her the jewels. The daughter thought, "This goose brings me a jewel every day, so there must be many more hidden in its stomach. I should try to capture it so I can have even more jewels." Immediately, she set a net to catch the goose. Seeing that she was ungrateful and intended to repay kindness with harm, the king of geese flew away and never returned. A celestial being witnessed this and composed a verse that says, "One should not be covetous. Covetousness is unvirtuous. If one becomes covetous, all one's gains will be lost." Therefore, no matter how much money covetous people have, they still experience a sense of poverty and can hardly feel genuine happiness. The Acts of the Buddha says, being wealthy but lacking contentment is also being poor. Being poor but feeling content is the greatest wealth. Some practitioners at Laronggar lead simple lives, embracing minimalism in their choices of clothing, food, and provisions. What does this lifestyle bring them? It brings them a sense of ease and happiness. In contrast, there are individuals who are very wealthy but lack knowledge of the Dharma, and they experience a profound sense of emptiness and dissatisfaction. Therefore, if we do not adjust our mindset, it will be incredibly challenging for us to find satisfaction and fulfillment solely through material accumulation. We must understand that the value of inner happiness and wisdom surpasses that of external wealth. While material things may bring us temporary pleasure, they cannot eliminate our suffering. Why? is Buddhism sometimes referred to as Adhyatma Vidya, which means the inner science of realization. This is because Buddhism focuses on cultivating inner wisdom. Unlike other fields of knowledge that primarily deal with external objects and offer solutions to specific problems, Buddhism has the potential to eradicate all our afflictions. As a result, when we achieve realization in our minds, the entire external world becomes more beautiful. This refers to all the malicious thoughts we may harbor toward others, such as holding on to anger or hatred while imagining ways to hurt them, feeling upset or envious when they achieve success, wishing they were less fortunate, happy, or capable, or taking satisfaction in their misfortunes. As Lama Tsongkhapa says, if the intention is good, then the stages and paths will also be good. If the intention is bad, then the stages and paths will also be bad. The difference between a good person and a bad person lies in their intentions, whether good or bad. Being regarded as a good person is not based on factors such as skin tone, wealth, or communication skills. If a person harbors hatred and is driven by negative emotions, their actions are inherently not good, and they may even go to the extreme of committing outrageous acts. Such an individual will cause varying degrees of harm to those around them. In the process of harming others, they also harm themselves. Furthermore, there are instances where they harm themselves before they have the chance to harm others. During the Three Kingdoms period, the King of Wu, one of the three major kingdoms, had a eunuch under his command. This eunuch was a villain with ill intentions and a narrow-minded nature who liked to hold grudges. He had a long-standing feud with the warehouse keeper and constantly harbored resentment, always seeking opportunities for revenge against him. On a hot summer day, the King of Wu sent the eunuch to the warehouse to fetch some honey to accompany his plums. In order to frame the warehouse keeper, the eunuch secretly placed a few pieces of rat excrement in the honey container and presented it to the king. The king noticed the rat excrement and became furious. When questioned, the eunuch immediately blamed the warehouse keeper. The king then summoned the keeper and interrogated him. The warehouse keeper was terrified, his face turning pale and unable to stop bowing. He desperately explained that he had not neglected his duty in any way. The king had always been intelligent and observant. To uncover the truth, he commanded someone to cut open the rat excrement. It was discovered that the excrement was moist on the surface, but dry within. Therefore, the king deduced that it was the eunuch who had placed the excrement. If the rat excrement had been in the honey for a significant period, it would have been completely saturated. However, the fact that it was dry inside indicated that it had been recently placed in the container. As a result, the eunuch's scheme was exposed and he was punished for deceiving the king. Therefore, harming others is harming oneself. Especially as practitioners, we must never wish harm on others. Some practitioners of the Pure Land School strongly resist studying the Dharma. They have conflicts with others and hold grudges in their daily lives, yet they rarely desire to make a change. It may be quite difficult for such practitioners to be reborn in the Pure Land. The sixth patriarch said in the Platform Sutra, "If one's mind harbors no ill intentions, the Western Pure Land is not far away. If one's mind holds ill intentions, even reciting the Buddha's name cannot bring rebirth there. If you do not have a malicious mind and are pure-hearted and kind, being reborn in the blissful Pure Land is within reach. However, if you are like a venomous snake wishing harm upon your Dharma fellows and those around you, quarreling with one person today and fighting with another tomorrow, not only will you fail to be reborn in the Pure Land, but you will also lead a difficult life in this lifetime, as those who encounter you will reject you." Some people refer to themselves as lay practitioners, but their character may be worse than that of some non-Buddhists. Some monastics took ordination years ago, yet their intentions are filled with malice, and there is no trace of kindness. Especially during this degenerate age, some Buddhists who always appear to hold mala beads in their hands are rife with hypocrisy. Although they may give eloquent Dharma talks, they are actually unkind. Such individuals will find it difficult to attain rebirth in the Pure Land through praying to Buddha Amitabha, and worse yet, they may experience boundless suffering in this life and in many future lives. Mipham Rinpoche says, "A malicious intention leads to constant suffering in future lives, causing one to be harmed by others for no reason. Thus, if you are slandered or harmed by others without cause, it is likely the karmic result of your past intention to harm others." The Sutra of the Compendium of Essential Teachings also states, "The one who likes to wish harm on others is protected neither by humans nor by gods."
A person who wishes harm upon others will not receive protection from Dharma protectors and celestial beings. Moreover, they will attract various forms of harm from both humans and non-humans. Therefore, for those experiencing great suffering, their circumstances may be related to karma from actions committed in previous lives or in this life.
Wrong views include the belief that actions have no karmic effect, as well as the perspectives of eternalism and nihilism, the view that actions cause no karmic effect. As stated in the Treasury of Abhidharma and Upper Abhidharma of the Mahayana, the belief that actions have no karmic effect, that positive actions yield no benefit and negative actions cause no harm, leads to a series of inferences. These include the denial of past and future lives, the belief that the three jewels lack any great qualities, the notion that the Buddha has never come into this world, and the idea that heavens and hells are mere fictions, among other things. Such wrong views are particularly concerning. Without correct views, studying the Dharma becomes merely a formality, and Buddhist teachings cannot be internalized. The views of eternalism and nihilism. The views of eternalism and nihilism encompass the various beliefs held by the tirthikas. While these views can be categorized into 360 false views or 62 wrong views, they ultimately fall under the two categories of eternalism and nihilism. The tirthikas' views are explained in detail by Venerable Longchenpa in the Treasury of Wish-Fulfilling Jewels and the Treasury of Philosophical Tenets. There are many types of wrong views, and the aforementioned numbers are merely rough estimates. Sentient beings hold a multitude of wrong views that are beyond enumeration. Nonetheless, all these wrong views can be summarized under the two categories of eternalism and nihilism. Eternalists believe in a permanent self and an eternally existing creator of the universe, such as Isvara, Vishnu, and the God. In the commentary on valid cognition, the chapter titled "Establishing the Buddha as the One with Valid Knowledge" refutes the existence of an eternally existing creator. The eternalist view is also refuted in texts such as Mipham Rinpoche's commentary on the Ornament of the Middle Way, Nagarjuna's root stanzas of the Middle Way, and Chandrakirti's introduction to the Middle Way. Why is the eternalist view invalid? It is because at the ultimate level, no phenomenon can remain eternal. Thus, in strict terms, any spiritual tradition that claims the existence of an eternally existing creator can be considered a tirthika belief. However, from a broader perspective, it is important to promote the harmonious coexistence, mutual learning, and inclusivity of all the world's religions. Nevertheless, the unique perspectives of Buddhism on view, meditation, action, and fruition should remain clearly distinguishable from other spiritual beliefs. Just as there are differences between the major Old School and New School lineages of Tibetan Buddhism, various Buddhist schools should clarify their own views and analyses, even though they all fall under the umbrella of Buddhism. When establishing views in Buddhism, we Buddhists should not blindly adhere to or conform to other religions. Otherwise, it may hinder our progress toward liberation. While other spiritual traditions may possess admirable qualities, there are significant differences when compared to Buddhism. Recently, I met an intellectual at Peking University who is a Christian. When I was introducing the extraordinary greatness of Buddhism, he bluntly stated that he believed his religion was good and infallible. He then asked me to point out anything that was not good in his religion. I replied, "I may not cover everything, but one thing I can say is that the doctrine in your religion may not sufficiently consider non-believers and animals, which contrasts with the Buddhist value of compassion for all beings. If you disagree and would like to discuss this further, we can have a peaceful conversation on this issue." The intellectual is a wise man, and after hearing my words, he reflected on what I said. Of course, I don't intend to disparage other religions to highlight the supremacy of Buddhism. As stated in the praise of the sage who surpasses gods, we should take refuge in and follow whichever religion aligns most closely with the truth. Nihilists hold the view that everything emerges by itself, denying the existence of past or future lives, the concept of karma, and the possibilities of liberation or freedom. How did the nihilist view arise? It is said that when the Asuras initiated a war with the gods didn't want to engage in negative actions such as killing, due to their inherent belief in the principle of cause and effect. However, when the gods faced defeat, the god Brihaspati needed to motivate his celestial soldiers, so he deliberately created a text that promoted a wrong view on the non-existence of past and future lives. Later, the Rishi Drokarwa, a tirthika teacher, brought this wrong view to the human realm. What were the wrong views? As it says in the doctrine of Black Ishvara, the rising of the sun, the downhill flow of water, the roundness of peas, the bristling length and sharpness of thorns, the beauty of the iridescent eyes of peacocks' tails. Nobody created them. They all just naturally came to be. They argue that the sun rises in the east without anyone causing it to do so, and rivers flow downhill without being pushed. No one shaped peas to make them round, or sharpened the points of thorns. The vibrant patterns on a peacock's tail were not painted by any hand. These phenomena simply exist as they are, governed by their own nature. Similarly, everything in the world, whether pleasant or unpleasant, good or bad, arises on its own. There is no such thing as past karma, previous lives, or future lives. Such views are quite ridiculous and were refuted in Mipham Rinpoche's commentary on the Ornament of the Middle Way. Of course, those who have never studied the Dharma may find them reasonable. However, if we examine those examples closely, we will realize that they are not valid at all, because all phenomena arise from causes and conditions. When causes and conditions ripen, phenomena will manifest. Otherwise, all phenomena, including the sharp points of thorns, will not manifest, because they do not exist intrinsically. Even as these external phenomena were intrinsically existent, we still could not conclude that internal suffering and happiness also possess inherent nature. Why is that? For an analogy to be effective, the two things involved must share something in common. The aforementioned analogies do not share any commonality with internal suffering and happiness. The suffering and happiness of sentient beings arise from causes and conditions, in the way that one's past positive and negative actions lead to future suffering and happiness. Of course, to accept this view, we must first acknowledge the Buddha as the one with valid knowledge. Then, we will accept the Buddha's teachings on the principle of cause and effect. Alternatively, through debate, we can refute the nihilist viewpoint by exposing its logical fallacy. This way, nihilists cannot disprove the existence of past and future lives. We have studied numerous logical reasonings and empirical evidence on this matter, which you can refer to in your analysis. Believing that the teachings of Tirthika traditions are true and adhering to them, or even without such adherence, considering the Buddha's words, your teacher's guidance, or the writings of respected Buddhist scholars as mistaken, and harboring doubts or criticisms toward them, all fall under the category of wrong views. Even if we currently don't hold wrong views, as some Dharma masters have mentioned, we may eventually adopt erroneous views due to our own lack of merit and blessings. This is particularly true for individuals whose seeds of wrong views have not yet been completely eradicated. Their wisdom is limited, so when they are influenced by the views of tirthikas or fools, they are more likely to abandon the views of Buddhism, which are as precious as a wish-fulfilling jewel, and instead follow religious doctrines that can cause significant harm in this life and in future lives. Therefore, it is of utmost importance for you to carefully contemplate which views you choose to accept. Now we have studied all 10 negative actions. The worst of the 10 negative actions are taking life and holding wrong views. As it is said, no action is more severe than taking someone else's life. Among the 10 negative actions, holding wrong views is the gravest. Regarding wrong views, the True Attainment Treatise says, the power of mental acts exceeds that of physical and verbal acts, and of all the vicious acts, wrong views are the gravest. Therefore, the power of actions related to the mind surpasses that of actions related to the body and speech. So, why are taking life and holding wrong views considered the worst? Here, Patro Rinpoche offers a brief explanation. When it comes to the act of taking life, aside from beings in the hell realms, there is no being that does not fear death or prioritize their own life above all else. Of course, when a crisis arises in relationships or life, the pain of living can far exceed the pain of death, leading a person to choose suicide. If we humans disregard and trample upon the lives of other species, we are truly committing a grave error. Leonardo da Vinci, the renowned Italian Renaissance painter, stated, "Whoever does not respect life does not deserve it, and my body will not be a tomb for other creatures." If the animals we consume could communicate in our language, I believe no one would dare to take their lives. However, it is precisely because they cannot speak and cannot defend themselves that we humans thoughtlessly end their valuable lives. Thus, taking a life is a particularly negative action. According to the Sutra of Sublime Dharma of Clear Recollection, if someone kills another living being, they will have to repay that act with 500 of their own lives in future rebirths. Additionally, killing even a single being will result in spending an entire intermediate kalpa in the hell realms as retribution. Therefore, under no circumstances can we Buddhists kill any sentient being. Some time ago, I met a Dharma friend who told me he planned to buy insecticide because there were many ants in his house. After hearing his words, I felt that many people hadn't yet recognized the preciousness of life. Once, a person asked me, "There are many termites in the wooden pillars of the Dharma hall. Should we kill those termites?" My answer was, we shouldn't. We can simply replace the wooden pillars with concrete ones. After all, the lives of sentient beings are more precious. Therefore, as long as you acknowledge the value of life, you will discover various solutions that do not involve killing to resolve any problem. If you fail to recognize this, you may recklessly kill beings for the sake of your own appetite, regardless of whether sentient beings cause you harm. By doing so, you will have to repay every life you take with 500 of your own lives. What a dreadful karmic consequence. Not long ago, I heard of a particularly troubling case, although I cannot confirm its truth. I was told that in order to construct a stupa, a Tibetan Lama gathered many sheep and cattle and sold them to a slaughterhouse for money. In another instance, some Tibetans would kill animals for money before going on a pilgrimage to the Jowo Rinpoche in Lhasa, using the proceeds for the trip and then repenting for the act of killing once they arrived. How foolish. The same is true for some individuals living in the Han areas of China. When they see ants, cockroaches, and mice, they kill these creatures while reciting mantras for them. They even claim that this killing is acceptable since the recitation can help transfer the consciousness of the unfortunate animals. Their actions are highly unreasonable. If they genuinely want to benefit living beings, they could simply whisper the Buddha's name close to the animals' ears. Why do they feel the need to kill them? Imagine if someone recited the Buddha's name to you and then killed you. How would you feel? In 2009, during an interview with journalists at the White House, US President Barack Obama had a fly persistently landing on his face. Eventually, the annoyed president swatted the fly. Leaders of People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, PETA, were dissatisfied with Obama's execution of the fly. A year later, while attending a conference, Obama was once again buzzed by a fly. The fly persisted, sometimes landing on the president's head, sometimes on his cheek, and even on his lip. However, Obama had learned a lesson and simply let the fly linger without taking action. In terms of how we should treat living beings like flies and other pests, I believe Master Yingguang set a commendable example. Once, when his room was infested with bedbugs, one of his disciples wanted to eliminate them. However, Master Yingguang stopped him and said, "The fact that they are still living in my room shows that I have not yet cultivated enough great qualities to tame and transform them." Thus he remained undisturbed by the presence of the bedbugs. It is said that after reaching the age of 73, there were no longer any bedbugs in his room. Some Dharma masters attributed this to Master Yingguang's merits and virtues. Consequently, upon hearing this story, some Buddhists may find inspiration to further advance their practice of abstaining from killing. Regarding the horrific effect of taking life, here is a story from the Miscellaneous Treasure Sutra. A wealthy man wanted to eat lamb, but he feared his son would oppose the idea. So he lied to his son, claiming that the family's prosperity was due to the protection of a tree god residing in a tree on their land, and that they should slaughter a sheep to offer as a sacrifice to the tree god. The son believed his father's story, so he built a small shrine near the tree and frequently sacrificed sheep. Eventually, the wealthy man died and was reborn as a sheep in the family due to his negative actions. Later, when the son was about to sacrifice a sheep, he happened to choose the one that had been his father in a previous life. The sheep bleated as it was being taken out. At that moment, an arhat passed by to beg for alms. Observing the situation, the arhat blessed the son, enabling him to see through the divine eye that the sheep was his father reborn. Understanding the karmic consequences of killing, the son was deeply troubled, and he immediately destroyed the shrine and ceased taking life. Under the influence of wrong views, sometimes people may make offerings that appear virtuous, but in reality, they are not virtuous at all. It is equally misguided to think you are performing a virtuous act by killing animals and presenting their flesh and blood to monastics invited to your home or to an assembly of Sangha members. Such situations occur in other contexts as well. For instance, some donors showed special respect to a lama. Knowing that the lama enjoyed shrimp, they always served him this seafood during his visits. On one occasion, the lama ate so eagerly that he didn't even notice the shrimp whiskers stuck to his beard. His disciples were delighted to see this and praised him, saying, "Ah, you look so wonderful, my guru. Let me take a picture of you." The negative karmic consequences of killing animals for food offerings affect both the offerer and the recipient. While the donor is offering food, the act constitutes an impure offering, and the recipients are consuming improper sustenance. Any potential positive effect is overshadowed by the greater negative consequences. Practitioners in the Han areas of China have been advocating for vegetarianism, which is indeed a commendable tradition. However, a few lay practitioners make exceptions by killing animals and offering the flesh to a Tibetan Lama in order to please him. Such an act is not acceptable. Certainly, unless you have the ability to immediately revive those you harm, there is no situation in which killing does not defile you as a negative action. You can be sure that such actions will adversely affect the lives and Dharma activities of your teachers. Thus, unless your teacher possesses the extraordinary ability to transfer the consciousness of living beings, like the great enlightened practitioner Tsongkhapa, Dokhyensei Yeshe Dorje, 1800 to 1866, or Dujam Rinpoche, receiving offerings that involve killing will ultimately harm their lives and activities. As Shabkart Soptruk Rendrol, 1781 to 1851 pointed out, even if a teacher has such extraordinary capacity, accepting the flesh and blood of a freshly killed animal as a meal does not seem appropriate. In fact, if you frequently take lives and offer them to the teacher, it will undoubtedly have negative effects on their lifespan and ability to carry out their Dharma activities. However, if the teacher is a noble being like Tilopa, who could transfer the consciousness of the fish he consumed, then engaging in wrathful or fierce activities to benefit beings is permitted in Buddhism. If you are unable to transfer the consciousness of the beings that were killed to the state of great bliss, you must strive to avoid taking their lives. Otherwise, as the treatise on the great perfection of wisdom states, do not take another's life, because taking life leads to sufferings life after life. Regarding wrong views, according to the Vinaya and the four-part Vinaya, holding wrong views, even for a brief moment, results in breaking all your vows and severing your connection to the Buddhist community. It also undermines the precious opportunity of human life to practice the Dharma. From that instant, your mind becomes defiled by wrong views, rendering even your good actions incapable of leading to liberation, and the harm you cause irredeemable through confession. Why is this the case? It is because if you aim for liberation, you must hold the fundamental right views on rebirth and karma. Otherwise, any virtuous deed you perform is merely a matter of appearance, which does not lead to liberation. Thus, Aryadeva says it is better to break the precepts than to destroy right views. Nagarjuna also says those with wrong views, even if they perform virtuous acts, will still suffer unbearable consequences. In addition, the True Attainment Treatise says, when a virtuous doer is about to die, if he generates a wrong view, he will fall into the hell realm. When a vicious doer is about to die, if he generates a right view, he will be reborn in the celestial realm. Therefore, a fleeting wrong thought at the moment of death carries very significant consequences. Chan Master Wood of the Northern Song dynasty was very strict with his disciples. Once, one of his novice monks accidentally trampled a frog to death while walking at night. The Chan Master asked the disciple to jump off a cliff on the back mountain as a way of repenting for his fault. The novice monk approached the edge of the cliff in great sorrow. He looked down but could not see the bottom. Realizing he would definitely die if he jumped, he didn't know what to do and began to cry out loud. A butcher happened to pass by and asked why the novice monk was crying. The monk explained the situation. Hearing this, the butcher replied, "You just accidentally killed a frog, and the karmic effect is already so heavy that you must repent by jumping off the cliff. I slaughter pigs every day, and my hands are steeped in blood. My faults must be boundless. Ah, You don't have to jump off the cliff." Then the butcher jumped without hesitation. Feeling extremely regretful, just as he was about to hit the ground and die, a cloud suddenly caught him and saved his life. There is also a historical account stating that the butcher attained realization at that moment. This can be regarded as an example of laying down the butcher's knife and immediately becoming a Buddha. Thus, a fleeting thought of remorse can purify infinite negative actions, whereas a fleeting thought of wrong views can trap one in the abyss of suffering for thousands of kalpas. Moreover, since those with wrong views believe that all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas are non-existent and have no merit, even if they wish to repent after committing misdeeds, they don't have an object to repent to. Therefore, of all negative actions, wrong view is the worst. To avoid generating wrong views, we should often pray to the Guru and the Three Jewels, while also understanding the truths related to views, meditation, actions, and fruition in Buddhism. By doing so, the seeds of wrong views in our mind stream will gradually be burned away by the fire of wisdom. We will protect the Dharma and benefit living beings with our right views, life after life.